We got an exciting Dig Deeper today for you, and I'm excited to be here with you because there's lots going on. So I know a lot of you are still coming on board, but you need to be engaged today. Today's the day. Today is your day. Today is my day. Today is the day that we dig deeper. Now, I know a lot of you know that my Dig Deepers are always about digging deeper into your personal life, digging deeper into an amazing book. I've got a ton of more books I want to dig deeper into you. But remember, our Wednesdays Go Live is about digging deeper into a book review or an interview with an expert. So today, I've got something special for you. I'm going to interview an expert that knows some things about this market that you want to pay attention to. I'm telling you, I'm excited about this. But listen, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Remember, we go live every Tuesday. If you missed yesterday's, you missed out. We dug deeper into the Real Estate Investing Talk Show, and we talked about the two main lead sources, and we broke those down for an hour with you. Tons of positive feedback. We had a person on there, Toby, who's one of our biggest fans. She's already getting deals. She's meeting with a seller. I'm excited for Toby. I'm all about that. So if you miss Tuesdays, don't miss next Tuesdays because we've got another Go Live on Facebook on Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone, which also brings us to our Go Live Facebook Wednesdays, Dig Deeper. It's all about you, helping you grow. I want to change this industry by giving you more value each week than you could ever receive from any of these gurus out there because they are just trying to put you on a webinar. Now listen, I want to bring you value. I want to bring you experts like my good friend Andrew Williams. Wave at everybody, Andrew. He's shy. We'll get him talking in a minute. So my point is I've got a lot of great stuff for you today. And this interview is going to be one of the ones you're going to remember because it is perfect for the current market we're in. And that, my friends, is something you got to pay attention to. And I've got a ton of stuff I want him to talk to you about. But before I introduce Andrew and everything that he's done and all the value that he can bring to you and why you want to know who he is, I want to make sure you understand that we're here to answer your questions. That's the whole beauty of these Go Live Facebooks, is so that you can put questions in. You can say hi, give us some thumbs up, share some love with us. Let us know you're engaged and you're listening and you're paying attention. Because those of you that know me very well, there's a big difference between participation and active participation. And I want you being active. There they come. I see the love coming now. That's what I'm talking about. And now, as you know, I can't talk and type at the same time, but I can walk and chew gum at the same time. So we have the lovely Jill behind the camera. Say hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill. Jill is always with us. She's a trooper. She's here to make sure that when you write your questions, it gets over to me and in our interview today for Andrew. So I'm just excited for all of this. So remember, if there's one thing that I love more than anything, that's when you share this stream. Share the stream, the value that we're putting out every week and the value that our interview with an expert is going to put down here. I promise you, somebody else wants to hear that message. Somebody wants to know exactly what it is you're learning and how it's going to change their life. That's what they want to know. And how you like that, Andrew? I got my camera way down on you there. Anyways, a little inside fun. You know how we are around here. If we can't have fun, you can't have fun. Nobody has fun. Nobody makes any money. Let me tell you what's more important than making money, having fun doing it. And if you can have fun and make a beautiful living, shoo-wee, man, nobody can touch you. As we say in the South, that's downright good, okay? So listen to me. You might want to get some paper out for this interview because this is one of those ones that is a game changer. It's a game changer. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it, but let me tell you why I know it's a game changer. Because what he does and what he teaches is what I've learned from him. And this is the things that I do. It's that next level stuff. It's that take you to a whole nother level. Now, you guys know I get long-winded. And Andrew's only here with us for a little bit. and I'm going to try to get through a bunch of information. Let me say this. I'm going to try to pull as much information out of him as I can today so that we can get you as much information as possible in this amazing new interview. The beauty of it is Andrew, I just want to tell you, you're the first interview that we have done on our Go Live Wednesday Dig Deeper. So, the first. You're the number one.
Nice.
Hey, can I squish your head? Let me squish his head. Let me squish his head. Okay, guys. So put your questions in. I'm all excited about that. If you're saying hi, tell me who's saying hi, Jill, so we can make sure we give some shout outs here on Facebook.
We have Levi Martin.
Levi, my man. Levi's on here. Levi, I want to see you every Wednesday and every Tuesday on here. You need to be giving me feedback. You need to be talking to me. Levi, you remember Andrew. We need you engaged, Levi.
Then we have Toby.
Oh, Toby. She's our #1 fan.
And we have Carly. She's on here.
And we got Carly on here. Everybody saying hi.
Levi, he says yes, he will be here every Tuesday and
Levi,
Wednesday.
I'm telling you, be here, buddy. Be here, be square. Well, listen, I can sit here and ramble off everybody's names that's on here and getting excited about all this, but here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're just now joining us, my name's Zack Childress. You're with the REI Success Academy family. This is our Dig Deeper Wednesday, whether we're digging deeper into a book review or we're digging deeper into an interview with an expert on what they do and how they got there. It's really about their journey and what really happened. And so I want you to experience that. And Jill, I hate to bother you. Oh, it went away. Never mind. Okay, so if you just joined us, be part of this. If you are watching this after we've gone live, pay attention. Share it with someone else. Put your questions in, because I promise you, if you still put your questions in tonight or tomorrow, we'll still come back and answer them. This is a spot for you to get engaged. So I love the hearts. I love the thumbs up. You guys are special to me. That's why I do this. I want you all to get massive value out of working with us. I want so much value coming to you that when anybody ever brings up real estate investing, you guys say, that's Zack Childress. That's the guy you got to learn from. That's what I want from my fans right there. So anyways, let me introduce you guys to our expert today, Andrew Williams. Say hi again.
Hi.
Hey, let's just make sure all you guys can hear Andrew. Did everybody, you guys able to hear Andrew?
Hello.
Really?
Can you hear me? I'm all the way over here in Arizona.
They can hear you, man. I'm getting thumbs up on here. That's awesome. I get a lot of hearts, too. Man, they love this. So, Andrew, everybody, just so you know, I've known Andrew now for, what, 4 years, 5 years?
Yes. It's a blur.
It's all a blur. Well, the beauty of it is I met Andrew a long time ago, and I just liked what the guy was doing, his professionalism, his ability to understand what bringing value to someone first before you ask was huge. And you guys have heard me talk about this. If you want to turn somebody off, go to them asking for stuff immediately. I built my entire business and my entire enterprise on bringing value to people first. What can I do to give you value? What can I do to give you value? And in return, I will get what I need. And it may not happen right now, but it may happen in a year from now or whatever. But that was something I noticed with Andrew, which a lot of people out there, they always have their hands out. But the other thing I noticed about Andrew was his ability to understand a whole different level of investing. Where, you know, I'm real big on getting out here and doing some wholesale deals and doing some fix and flips, and the purpose of that is not to stay there. The purpose that I say you do this is to create the revenue so you can move into passive investing. Well, when I met Andrew and he started telling me all the things he was doing and how it was a lot easier than most people even make it, you know, they make it sound so complex because they're a commercial investor and they must be highly educated. But he's like, no, man, like it's such an easy way to get involved, and it's such an easy path if people just knew the steps that they had to go through to not make it complicated. And so I spent some time listening to him, And I realized he did know how to really take the average Joe and help them get into real estate on a different level of passive investing, commercial investing, cash flow investing. Hence why he's got the nickname Professor Cash Flow, because he knows all the right formulas. And those formulas are the key to getting you to that success. So with that said, Andrew, show them what you got there. Cash Flow Labs, that's what he's all about. So Andrew, let's just start off and get all the listeners engaged. Tell them a little bit about, how you got started and what made that change happen for you. What was it that took you from single family investing into cash flow properties and how that grew for you?
I grew up with entrepreneurial parents, and my mom was a real estate broker and my dad was in construction, and every now and then Mom would find a good deal on a house, and she'd talk to Dad, and they'd go down and buy it, and he'd fix it up. They'd put a renter in it, and they did that a couple times a year, and I watched them do that as a kid. I grew up understanding my folks had rental properties, and one day they sold all of it, and my dad bought a little Ford dealership up in Northern California, and so I saw how they were able to build not only a stream of income and cash flow for them, but eventually it turned into a large windfall, i.e. a large sum of money that they were able to then go buy. In those days, my father's dream was to own a car dealership. So he bought his own Ford dealership. My mom opened up her own real estate brokerage. And that was great for a few years till the 1980, and the market really crashed. Interest rates went to 18%.
Man,
gasoline at $1 a gallon. And
Andrew, hold on a second. I want to just get the listeners on this. You guys think we had it bad when interest rates went to 7 or 8%? Man, listen, you guys never saw the 80s when the crash happened, right, Andrew?
Right. Well, the only thing that was good that came out of that is assumable loans. These banks loved having 16, 18% interest rates, and if somebody wanted to help sell their house, the bank was more than happy to let somebody assume that high interest rate loan. They didn't want them to pay off.
Absolutely.
So that's the only good thing about high interest rate loans is they're assumable. They want to keep it going.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, these rates back in the 80s, they went up to 12, 14, 16, 17%.
Right.
And here's the thing,
that's really when HUD and FHA came out. The government stepped in and helped subsidize interest rates. That was the first time they got really active in mortgages like that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It worked then. Even at those high interest rates, people were still getting into real estate. They were still making money in real estate. So, a lot of you guys always talk about, well, I don't have any money, and if I go borrow money, the lender wants to charge me 12%. Who cares? Can you still make money at 12%, right? That's what you have to look at. Not the interest rate, but can you still make money investing that way? Or some of the things we're going to drill into Andrew today is how do we go after these cash flow properties and keep all the financing in place and just step in and take over? That's a big one. So pay attention on that. All right, we are back. This is part 2. Levi got back on. Way to go, Levi. Hey, listen, you just got to keep digging until you figure it out, right? That's my whole theory on this. I did say it was our very first interview, so we're getting it all dialed back in. But, where we're at is we're trying to get you guys to understand that the market that we're in right now is really evolving more into cash flow types of properties. And what we were talking to Andrew about was really how he first got started and what he really did. And I was asking him the question, did he start with single families, or did he start as a wholesaler or a rehabber? How did he start? And that's kind of where we crashed and Facebook shut us down. Facebook, you can't keep me out. I'll kick you out. That's my theory. All right, so Andrew, let's get everybody back on the same page. So you didn't really start with rehabs. You didn't really start with fix and flips.
No, my folks gave me a spark. They told me to go to college. I went to college, and I went to work for a bank after I graduated from college. And while working for the bank, I was doing loans. I was approving loans for people, and I saw some tax returns come across my desk, and in that tax return was something called a Schedule E. Now, Schedule E has rental properties on it, show rental income. And this one particular couple was buying a big old motorhome, and those $400,000 Prevos. It's like a house rolling down the road, you know. And to qualify for something that big, they really needed a lot of income. I literally approved their loan in about 2 minutes. They had so much income. They owned over 60 rental properties. And the passive cash flow that they were generating, they could be anywhere in the world or in their motorhome across the country, and those checks just got hit in their bank account every single month. So they literally had the true definition of financial freedom. So at that point, I set a goal. I wanted to buy rental properties and have, say, buy a property a year for 20 years and have 20 rental properties. A lot of people were telling me I could never do it, and you know, that kind of gets in your head sometimes. And so a couple of years went by, I hadn't bought anything. So to answer your question, I met somebody else. They were buying fourplexes, and I thought, hey, there's a way for me to get caught up. I said one house a year for 20 years, 3 years have gone by, I haven't bought anything. I got to play catch up. So actually, my very first investment was an 8-unit apartment complex. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had some mentors helping me out, but I bought an apartment complex for my first investment. So if that answers your question, Zach, I think if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, so you know, here's the thing.
Actually, I think I can show other people how to do this, and that's kind of where you and I, you know, got together, was finding a way for me to show other people that multifamily investing, commercial real estate, it really can be done with, if you call it your average Joe or Josephine. I actually have as many female investors I'm working with as men. So it's
well, you know, and that brings me to a point that a lot of people think going to that next level, which is the progression. You know, we teach on 4 tiers of investing. Tier 1,
right,
wholesaling. Tier 2, creative financing. Tier 3, fix and flip. And Tier 4, passive investing, cash flow. And you know, and a lot of people don't even realize that they could move right into a Tier 4, you know, if they understand some of the creative structure that they can still do with Tier 4. And I think that that's great that, you know, not only have you lived it, and not only have you done it, but you're now able to take the system that you've built your business off of and basically demonstrate it for other people and put them into the same protocol. And I think that's wonderful that, you know, and here's what I always say this, that, you know, a lot of people, they reach a level of success in whatever niche they're in, but they don't want to share it with anybody. You know, because they live with the mindset of scarcity, and you know, we've all learned that scarcity doesn't get you anywhere. Abundance is where it's really at. But on the other level, you told me about one thing that you're doing I think is genius, which is you're teaching people how to do it themselves, but you're also willing to have them bring deals to you. And say, look, if you find it and you can't buy it, bring it to me. Look, how about I pay you for the lead? I think that's genius, man. You know, it's like, that's the epitome of an abundant mindset. Like, look, I know you can't buy everything, but I know that you're able to see more stuff than I see on my own. So go find it and bring it to me if you can't buy it. And then I'll pay you a fee for that.
Absolutely. I'll tell you if it's a good deal or not. I'll help you analyze it. I literally met somebody at a networking event last night that wanted to learn commercial. And she said, how about I just bring the deals to you and I'll watch you do them so I can learn from you? And I said, sounds good to me.
Why not, right? I don't have to go get the lead. I love it. So anyway, so your journey started with the first 8 unit that you went after. But from there, you really blew up, because I've heard your story, but I don't think everybody's heard your story. Like, you went into raising all kinds of money and really going big stream with like huge condo conversion projects, and you had a lot of massive success. And you know, so just, I mean, without going into all the details, but just share to people that are listening that don't know you, you know, what are some of your credentials, and why have the years giving you the ability to say, hey, look, I can teach anyone this business?
Right. Well, commercial real estate might sound daunting, and a lot of people are afraid of it. Let's just break it down to the simplest terms. Anything over and above 4 units, so let's call it 5 units and up, is considered commercial real estate. So if it's a 5-unit, 6-unit, 12-unit property, that's commercial. But so it doesn't have to be hundreds of units. It doesn't have to be a hospital or a high-rise. Commercial really can be something small and simple and easy to handle. And we found a niche because the real estate market was so hot 10 years ago that my partners and I were focused on affordable housing, and the price of an entry-level home just wasn't affordable anymore. So we were taking some of these apartment complexes we were buying, converting them into condominiums, and then selling these newly renovated condominiums to families at an entry-level price between $80,000 and $100,000, which was very affordable. Condo conversions, and through all of that I raised almost $750 million from private money because they were faster. We all know that when you work with a bank, sometimes they move too slow, and very often they end up saying no.
Right.
What I love about a private investor is they want a good return on their money, which we were willing to pay. We funded our deals every time, and through that whole process, we just ended up raising hundreds of millions of dollars. And after 70 projects, I've done over 20,000 transactions when you add up all the units and all the financing and all the buying and selling and rehabbing and all the units that I've done. I've managed thousands of units for people as well as our company. I did a daily radio show for 3 years in my market. I just love educating people in real estate and giving back. Somehow it's just always been part of what I do. I've owned office buildings. And a hotel. That was an interesting story. I bought a hotel when the market crashed. I went out and bought myself a hotel. What did I do? It's commercial. I took what I knew and I went and used it. Bought a hotel, a couple $1 million with none of my own money. I actually did a creative finance deal with a seller carryback. I took everything I knew and rolled it into this transaction for 3 years. Operated a hotel, coming and going, and hiring a team, and it was a fantastic experience, one that I would probably do again, and could show other people how to do that too.
So Andrew, let's talk about this. So here you are, a guy that's gone out there and really took the cash flow world by storm, right? So, I mean, you know, for most of the viewers that are going to watch this today, and there'll be several hundreds and thousands that watch it later, most people can't even imagine raising $750 million in private money. Like, I mean, let's just take one step backwards. What would you tell somebody from a professional level, and you don't have to spend 5 minutes on this, just a couple of minutes, but what would you tell somebody on a professional level that they're listening to you and they're going, man, I could never raise $750 million, but if I could just raise $100,000, you know, I could get into my first deal. What would be like 2 or 3 things that you would say to that person if they were going to go and present themselves to a private investor, coming from a guy who's raised $750 million? What would you say to somebody you got to have a plan.
Obviously, it doesn't work for you to just walk up to somebody and put your hand out and say, can you give me or lend me $100,000? So it's nice when you have a big resume like mine. The more money you raise doing it, the easier it becomes. So I understand it's a little hard the first time. So you got to have a plan together. You got to show somebody why, if they lend you money, it's a good investment on their part and how they're going to get their money back. Right. That's the number one thing that investors who lend money look for, is not only the return on their money, but the return of their money. So you've got to show them a plan so that they know that that's going to be a solid investment for them. And I show people how to do that all the time.
So let's say now I'm going to dig deeper, because this is our Dig Deeper show. So they create a plan. So really they lay a property portfolio out. Here's my investment. Here's what I'm going to do to it. Here's where your money is going to be used. Here's my repositioning, you know, strategy, or here's my sell strategy, or, you know, here's my 5-year plan to have you paid off. So once they do that and the investor says, yes, this sounds great, what would you tell somebody their next move would be at that point?
Well, kind of like when you put a property under contract, you get a contract.
Yep.
What you don't want to do is tie up a property to go buy and know or think that you have funding in place, and you don't.
Oh, I know. That's horrible.
Yeah, so there's a document called a commitment letter.
Oh,
and it's a simple document that you put together with your simple terms that you've agreed to with your lender, so that they also have a document. They can see what they've agreed to, and then you take it down to the title company, and oftentimes they'll draw up the note and deed of trust for you. So it doesn't have to be this super complicated thing.
I love it.
You want to document what you've agreed to do with the lender. They're happy to not only have your business plan in place, but to then also have that document. And now you've got, everybody's on the same page. Let me just put it that way.
So what you're really saying is if they have a commitment letter, basically like an LOI, just a letter saying, here's what I'm willing to pay you for your money, and here's how you're going to be secured in the investment, and here's the rate of return you're going to get and how you're going to get paid. But then take that and hand that off to the legal team and let them do all the legal paperwork.
Absolutely.
Love it. So simple.
It's like a letter of intent. Or a commitment letter for loan. Now the seller of the property sees that you have funding lined up. The lenders, they're obviously want to be privy to a copy of your contract. They want to see that you have the property tied up and that all the numbers you've discussed with them are true. And everybody comes together. It works. It's a little, on your first deal, you got your fingers crossed a lot. A lot of praying, making sure it's all going to come together. But what you find out when you line things up properly, document everything along the way, things tend to fall in line pretty easily.
So that takes me to the next point, because obviously you've definitely figured out how to make things a little more simpler. And I like that about you, Andrew, because I get a lot of people that follow me and listen to me, and they like things simple. Listen, I like things simple. I think we overcomplicate this business, and I think we overcomplicate our growth in life, and that's why most people never do anything, because they have this perception that it has to be harder than it really is, and it's not. I was talking to a coaching student this morning, and so.
Right. I told myself I wasn't going to do this if I couldn't make it simple for people, which isn't the same as easy. But
no.
I
don't want to confuse easy from simple. But I'm on the phone with my coaching student this morning, and we're having a really great call. It's our first call, and we're getting him started. Dr. J, he was on our show yesterday, wasn't he? Or last week? Last Wednesday he was on. So Dr. J and me were talking this morning, and one of the things he said to me, he was like, Zach, it's like a big university. I have to take all these classes, and then I have to graduate, and I have to take more classes. And I said, Dr. J, slow down. I said, there's a lot to learn in this business, but you don't need to learn it all to be successful. You need to really hone in on a strategy or a plan that you want. And if your plan ultimately is cash flow creation, then that's what you got to focus on. Keep it simple. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Just focus in on your plan. And I believe that people overcomplicate it because they try to do too much at once when they just need to focus on their end goal. And if most people's end goals, as well as you know, Andrew, it is cash flow. And they get sidetracked a lot. And if they would just focus on that and get the right person to teach them like you, who's proven how great this business is and how easy it is, it would be great. So one of the things I want to talk to you about real quick is, and I've got a lot I want to talk to you about. I've got some notes here. One is you always talk about how simple this multifamily investing is to learn and how it really takes the same effort as single family. So we're going to talk about that. You also talk about how multifamily has less competition, and you talk about how multifamily has less risk than single families. And so I want to talk about that too. I got so much I want to talk to you about, and I'm hoping that I can get through it all. One of the other things you talk about is how multifamily attracts OPM, other people's money, and how multifamily can pay you at closing, meaning walk out of the closing with money. So those are two more things I want to talk to you about. And then you've got, I hear you talking about how you can produce huge profits with this stuff and really starting with little to nothing to get started. So let's go back to the first part of this. So you talk about how multifamily is really simple to learn, and you talk a lot about how multifamily takes the same effort as single families. So walk us through that, because there's a lot of people that are going to watch this that says, oh, multifamily is complicated and it can't be as easy as single families. So I just want to really play devil's advocate here with you and say, well, if you say it is, then tell me why it is.
Multifamily and commercial property is still real estate.
Right.
So for anybody who's interested in investing in real estate, they already kind of know the basics. All I'm doing is adding something I call the multiplier effect. Finding a good deal on a single-family home takes the exact same effort as it takes to find a good deal on a 4-unit or an 8 or 10-unit property. Just as much effort. That's what I mean by that, from an effort standpoint. And from a simple standpoint, it doesn't have to be complicated. I think that's just the commercial market professionals trying to keep everybody out and keep the competition down. And sure, some of the terms, there's some math involved and some things like that, but that's not difficult for me to simplify it in terms that you'll understand so that you can get into multifamily and commercial real estate. I have simplified it, but it still takes the same amount of effort. So if you haven't been successful investing in single-family homes, and that's due to your lack of effort, don't misunderstand and think you'll be successful in multifamily with that same amount of effort. So
right. And so let me ask you this. Hold on. I'm cutting you off right now. I'm cutting you off right now. So let's go back to the second part of that question. That multifamily takes the same effort as single family. So I get your point when it says, hey, if you're going to look for a 4 or 5 or 6 or an 8 unit, you're putting in the same amount of energy as you are going to look for a wholesale deal or a fix and flip, because it's lead generation, right? I mean, I get that point. But now let's say the student has found it. How is it the same moving forward? I mean, are we evaluating them the same? And listen, obviously I know, so I don't want you to take that for discredit, but I'm just speaking from a point of view if someone's watching this and they don't know what questions to ask. So at what point, so okay, I found an 8 unit and I found a single family. The next stage, is it the same? Or, you know, obviously running cash flow formula is different than running a fix and flip formula, but how similar and how much easier is it really?
It actually is pretty, and let's take a fix and flip formula, for instance. If you're going to fix and flip a single family home and you found one, what's your next step? Well, you got to get it under contract. But let's say you've negotiated that and you do have it under contract, and now you're going to go walk the property or bring in an inspector, a roofer, an electrician, or whatever it is you do, that you perform your due diligence on that house to determine how much it's going to cost to renovate it.
Right.
You do the exact same thing in a multifamily, except you're just walking more units.
Right.
They're still under the same roof, in the same location. You don't got to drive all over town to inspect 8 units. So it's really just as easy. It's just 8 times.
8 times. So let me ask you this. You mentioned, you know, when you get it under contract and have it inspected, but in fix and flips, we have to really dig into, you know, what's an ARV, right? Like, how do I know what it will sell for? And where do I get comps? And, you know, where are my sold comps? So in, let's say, an 8 unit, I don't really have to go find an ARV with it, but how would I understand that the value is there when I'm going to make an offer on it?
Very good question, Zach. And ARV to single family is what a cap rate is, or rental income is, on multifamily. The value of commercial property or multifamily properties is all contingent upon the income it generates.
That's right.
So is the income it's generating at the moment below market rents? And if they are, that's good news. That's like finding a single family home that needs renovation.
That's right.
We take a multifamily property where the rents are low, and we know all we do is increase rents, we increase the value, and there's our instant equity, which is a formula that I teach. But I love properties that are rented at below market rents, because I know instantly I can raise those rents and raise the value by doing nothing else.
It's like creating value where you couldn't in a fix and flip, because a fix and flip, the value is dictated by what other people have sold their properties for. Where what you're saying is in the like the multifamily world, value isn't so much created by what someone else had sold their building for, but by what you're able to get in rents. And even if you bumped it by $20 a door, that could be huge for your capitalization rate.
Absolutely. I tell people, if you're in an 8-unit complex, $25 a door is $200 a month, or $2,400 a year. Your expenses are the same. All you did was raise rent. So $2,400 a year on top of your net operating income could easily equate to $50,000 to $80,000 in value.
Wow.
How quick was that to find $50,000 in value?
That's like pulling money out of the air.
It's the multiplier effect. But, you know, that's one of the other things is there can be huge profits. And let me show you this. Let's see if everybody can see this. And I want to show you my big check. This is a wholesale deal. I don't know if everybody can see that, but that's what you can make. And that was last week, by the way. That's just a wholesale deal.
That's a $40,000.
So when I say
So let me ask you this. Hold on. You just said wholesale deal. So let me make sure everybody's on the same page. Can we wholesale commercial properties and multifamilies?
Absolutely. Whatever you can do to single family, you can do to multifamily times 10, or however many units you have.
Wow, yeah. So literally where we might wholesale a single family for $7,000 fee, we can go out and wholesale a multifamily and make a $40,000 check like you just showed.
Right. So what I tell people is, and you're going to love this, Zach, I'll look at people and go, how would you like to buy a property or get it under contract, mark it up $1,000 and make 40 grand? And everybody blinks and shakes their head and says, what are you talking about? And I say, exactly. So what I did is I took a 40-unit apartment complex, got it under contract, marked it up $1,000 a door, and then just wholesaled it to another investor. I made 40 grand.
I love
How
that.
easy is it to mark something up $1,000, right?
I love that. Yeah, like if the units are 20,000 a unit, and then you turn around and say, well, it's 21,000 a unit, that doesn't seem like a lot. But it is a lot when you're dealing with 30 and 40 and 60 unit buildings. I mean, that's huge money right there.
Yeah.
Think about that, guys. That's listening to me. Listen to this. If you went out and wholesaled 3 multi-units a year, making an average of 40 grand per flip, I mean, you're talking 120 grand a year off of just doing 3 deals a year. Man, that's a game changer right there. So now I get your point a little bit, Andrew, when you say you're going to put the same amount of energy into going after single families that you are in these multifamilies, but you're going to get paid on a much larger multiplier. And so I think that's brilliant. It's almost like taking the concept of saying, how much is your time worth?
Exactly.
Right. How much is your time worth?
Exactly.
But I can guarantee you this. I can guarantee you this, that there are probably thousands of students, some successful, some not, that probably haven't crossed that line yet because they probably haven't ran into somebody like you that's saying, look, don't overcomplicate this, keep it simple, and just follow some of the formulas that we have to use in this process. So I love that.
You know, my perfect student, Zach, is that single-family investor who's wholesaling, and they're making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a door. To me, they've figured out how to find leads, how to generate leads, how to find properties, how to negotiate them, get them under contract, mark them up a little bit, and get them sold.
Right.
They simply apply that with some formulas that I have on multifamily, and their checks go from $2,000 to $3,000 to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 overnight. So those people are perfect for the multifamily strategies.
I love it. I love it. All right, so listen, I can already tell I'm not going to have enough time with you today. Because I've literally only got 2 of my questions out of all of them. So listen, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions. And then are you okay if we do like a part 2 next Wednesday? I know you got some things going on, but you think you could break away for an hour for my viewers again next Wednesday?
Anything for you, Zach, of course.
Man, I love
I'll clear my schedule.
I love that. Jill, you hear him say that? Can you get him on some type of recording saying that?
Good thing is it's live.
Oh yeah, we are recording this, aren't we? So so let me ask you 2 more questions, and then I'll save the other ones for next Wednesday. So you guys are going to want to listen to this. So I can't get to all these, but next Wednesday we're going to talk about how we attract other people's money to do these deals, how we get paid at closing to do these deals, and how investments can produce these huge profits off of these types of investments, and what's the best way to get started. So that's going to be next Wednesday. And then I'm going to ask you 2 more questions real quick. So one of the things I've heard you say over and over and over again, that there's actually less competition in this multifamily world than there is in other investing strategies. So what brought you to that conclusion?
Go on the internet, listen to the radio. How many people are out there trying to get you to come and learn how to fix and flip homes compared to how many people are trying to teach you how to make tens of thousands of dollars learning commercial real estate.
That's true.
For every town I go into, there's nobody out there looking for the properties I'm trying to buy. But anytime I'm in the single family market, I've got hundreds of people competing against me to go find that needle in a haystack called a good deal on a house.
Right. So it's kind of like that whole idea, why go to the fishing pond that everybody's telling everybody about? Go find your own little pond where the big bass are at, because no one's pulling them out of the pond yet. So
that's right. And so most people would go to that pond, but they don't know what to fish with. They don't know. They don't have the right gear.
They don't know the right formulas.
They don't think they do.
Yeah. And they don't have formulas together. They don't understand cash flow formulas. They don't understand cash flow processes. They don't understand COCRs and cap rates and NOIs and DCRs. Now, I could sit here and talk to you all day about this stuff because I do it. But for the average person and my average, student and follower, we just confuse them to death.
Yes, and you just did, so stop it. Believe me, if he just confused you or scared you a little bit with all of those acronyms, I don't really teach acronyms. I break it down and I call it income, annual income, expenses, gross rents, things like those terms that you're going to understand. And then later on, you'll shorten it and make your own acronym. But I'm going to tell you what those acronyms are, and not even tell you that it's an acronym.
Right.
So I'm going to teach it to you in a way that you're going to really learn it, understand.
So here's what I can say to this. I just wanted to put you on the spot a little bit, but I agree with you. There is major competition right now in the single-family residence world, especially in the primary markets. You're seeing competition just rising up out of the woodworks. And even in the secondary markets, we're starting to see more competition because the investors in the primary markets are moving to the secondary markets to get away from all the competition in the primary markets. So I agree with you, man. Just from one investor to another, I think you're spot on with that. So here's my last question for today, and we'll try to take some questions. Have we had any questions come in? Okay. So guys, if you're putting questions in, we haven't forgot about you. I'm just really into digging deeper into Andrew right now, and obviously I can't get it all out. I told you guys I'm long-winded, but this is my last question, and then we'll answer some of your guys' questions. So if you have more questions about what we're talking about, type them in right now so that we can get to them, because I don't want to keep you guys here more than an hour. So my last question for today is, you talk about multifamily has less risk than single-family residence. So, and you know I'm a risk management guy, so I'm not going to spout off my opinion right now, but tell me what you would say to me if I was a brand new investor and I was looking at this from a risk point of view. How would you explain it to me why I should take my money, or not even my money, but just my energy and time, and go into multifamily versus single family on a risk scale?
Sure. Well, if one of your goals is passive cash flow or cash flow, and you want to own rental properties, ask yourself, if I go buy a single family home, fix it up, put a renter in it, and it's producing some income for me, what happens if that renter stops paying? And you have to evict them, which is the worst case scenario, or they break their lease and move out early, or simply at the end of the lease, they just up and move. As long as that property is vacant, you have zero income coming in, but you still have all the expenses associated with it. What I love about multifamily is, let's say you have 4 units, or even 2 units. If one of them is vacant, you still have income from the other property. You still have an offset to those expenses. Another thing is, let's say you have a portfolio of single-family homes all across town. How hard is it to manage homes all across town as opposed to 8 or 10 units all under one roof in one location? Right. Much easier to manage, to look after, to maintain, and anytime there's a vacancy, you still have income from the other units. Because you're offsetting
the risk by having more doors that you're renting out. And you're offsetting the risk because you're keeping your assets under 1 or 2 or 3 roofs, where you would have, in the case of 4 rental houses, you'd have 4 roofs, 4 yards, 4 buildings,
Exactly.
and you're offsetting that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
oftentimes one water heater will supply 3, 4, 5 units in an apartment building, as opposed to a water heater in every single house, or
Right.
garbage disposals and dishwashers and microwaves and refrigerators. You tend to have all those, but now you're buying things in bulk. So if you go buy 4 refrigerators from somebody, you're going to get a lot better price than if you buy them one at a time. So
Yeah.
there's a multiplier effect that I've mentioned several times, and that's what I love about you too, Zach, is you tell people your job, and it's the same, I've adopted this, is to make people as much money as we can and keep them as safe as we can.
Yep.
Because I truly believe there's less risk in multifamily than single family. I'm all the happier to be teaching people these strategies.
Yeah, no, I can tell. You've got lots of experience at it. And I agree with what you said. To the level that I always tell people, even if they're going to do fix and flips, I'm like, look, you're the most vulnerable when you're doing one fix and flip at a time. If you're going to do it, you need to do 3, 4, 5 at one time to offset your risk, which basically is the same analogy. If you're going to go build a cash flow, portfolio, buying one house and that tenant moves out, well, you're stuck making the payment. We're buying a 2-unit or a 3-unit or a 4-unit or an 8 or a 10. If you have one tenant that moves out, it don't really affect anything because the asset is still controlled and it's still basically covering its own, debt services and so forth. So I agree with that a lot.
Let me share this, Zach, one more thing. What often people don't know is, let's just say in your market, a single family home, a good rental property runs $100,000. It isn't very much more. You can buy a 4-unit for sometimes $100,000. So sometimes the price is the same for 4 doors compared to 1. So every market's different, but we want to look at those markets where the cost of multi-unit properties is fairly close to what it would cost to buy a single family. So let's look at those. We analyze those markets.
So Andrew, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to call this off today, but I'm going to bring you back next Wednesday. And I want everybody to understand next Wednesday will be a really good one because we're going to dig deeper into how he has built his business and how he's teaching others to attract other people's money into the deals to help overcome that mindset that how do I get money? And also how we get paid at closing. I love this strategy. Love it, love it, love it. Why not walk out of the closing with a check in hand? Plus, how multifamily investments can produce the highest profits out of any investments. These 3 points alone next Wednesday I think will be game changers for us to talk about. So let's dig into a couple of quick questions before we get out of here. What do you got for us, Jill?
All right, so Toby, she says, Zach and Andrew, what do I say to a possible seller and what do I say to a buyer? First words, first initial conversation, and after I introduce myself, you guys are the pros and I'm still a rookie.
So Toby says to Zach and Andrew, you guys are the pros and I'm the rookie. So what is the first thing she should say
after she introduces herself?
After she introduces herself, let's just say to a seller that might be interested in selling, say, a 10-unit. What would be the first thing that you would say, Andrew, after you walked up and said you knew they were selling, and you walked up and you said, "Hi, I'm Andrew Williams. I came by to take a look at your building that you have for sale." What would be your next statement after that, Andrew?
There's a long list of things that I want to know about a property, but I like to shorten it down. I like to ask them why they're selling. I want to know right now, why are they selling this property?
I think that would be the first thing I would say myself, Andrew, is I would basically turn around and after I walked up and said, "Hey, I'm Zack Childress. How are you? I noticed you're selling this building. What's the reason that you're selling it?" And remember, Toby, that's for us to determine if there's some pain there and can we use that when we come back for negotiations. But I think that's the beautiful statement. But like Andrew said, there's a lot of questions I want to ask too. What's the expenses and blah, 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 blah. I could go on and on and on. But, one of the very first things I want to establish in a pre-negotiation state is what's their motivation for selling it, or do they even have motivation for selling it? And if they don't, that conversation could go in a completely different angle where if they do show signs of motivation, there might be some room for us to work some creative financing, wouldn't you say, Andrew?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The answer to that question, why do you want to sell, is probably the number one question. Because let's say I'm tired of the vacancies, or I'm tired of the maintenance, or I'm tired of this or that. That's music to our ears. We love it when a seller's tired.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. When they're burned out, that is like,
Yeah.
I'm your savior. So good question, Toby. What else do we got, Jill?
Levi, he says, should we use the same contract as the single-family residential uses for wholesaling a multi-family?
So Levi's question, and Levi's going to be a rock star out there. So Levi's question is, does he need to use the same contract when he's going after these 4, 6, and 8, and 10 units to wholesale? And I think that what he's asking is does he use the same purchase and sales agreement with the same language in there if he's going to go after a 4, 6, 8, 10er unit?
For the most part, yeah, it's very similar. There are a few subtle differences in there. For instance, if it's multi-units, you want to be able to make sure that in that contract you're entitled to certain due diligence and paperwork that you wouldn't get on a single family. So I want to see copies of leases and a rent roll, and a copy, I want to know what the expenses are for annually. So those are common things that you want to just write very simply in a contract, that during your due diligence period, you have the right to inspect all the units and see copies of the leases, the rent rolls, and the expenses associated with the property. So that's really the biggest difference in the contract. But one of the other things I like about this is we all know in single family, they want a short due diligence period and a really fast closing.
Right.
So sometimes as an investor, especially if we're just getting started out, we can't maybe move as fast as some of the more experienced investors out there. So in multifamily, it's very common to get 60 or 90-day close of escrow date with a 30-day inspection period.
Oh, right.
I
Absolutely.
love the time that it gives us in these.
Absolutely it does. So Levi, the point is a contract's a contract, whether you're going after a multifamily or a single family. There are some things you got to make sure that you have in there, like we talked about at our event in Charlotte, like the rights to have an assignable contract, and that you can close in your buyer's name of choice, entity of your choice. And so that's important. You also need to make sure that you have that clause in there that we talked about having the ability to pre-market the property and having a financial extension clause. Those are things that as a wholesaler, whether you're wholesaling commercial, multifamily, or residential, those are necessary needs, okay? On the other side, what Andrew's talking about is just with single family, our due diligence period is really an inspection. Where in multifamily, our due diligence period is an inspection, but it's also, we have to do due diligence on the actual financials. Like, has each unit been rented each month? Which is what he's talking about with a rent roll. It just basically lays out all the units, January through December, and how many of those units have collected rents all month long, so that you can see if there's lots of vacancies and things like that. The other thing is expenses. We need to know expenses. We want to know what the expenses are, because it helps us when we're evaluating the property and we're running one of Andrew's cash flow formulas on there. So great question, Levi. What else you got, Jill?
Okay.
That's actually it.
Okay.
Everybody is saying thank you, and Levi says awesome, thank you. Toby says wow, that's ideal and great information.
Well, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. Listen up, guys. I know I kept you here long today. I didn't mean to. We shut Facebook down. That's why we had to do part 2. So now we've got 2 of these videos on there. Part 2 is obviously the best because it's got all the information in it. So I'm excited to have you guys here. I'm excited to have you on our first interview with an expert. We're going to do more of these. But it's very important you come back next Wednesday. Why? Because next Wednesday we're going to be digging into other people's money and how we get paid at closing and how these things have the huge payouts. And so that's important that you guys pay attention to that and come on board. So we'll be back here next Wednesday, 1:30 Eastern Time Zone, live on Facebook. And don't forget about next Tuesday. We do our real estate investing talk show about what's working in today's real estate market. And that's at 1:30 Eastern Time Zone too. Do me a huge favor, share this stream, share this Share this with someone you love. Share this with someone you don't love. Share this with someone so that they can get value out of this too, because let me tell you something, what Andrew's teaching, people need to know about. This is how you replace your income passively, and it's just going to get better and better, and I've got lots more questions to dig deeper into with him next week, because you know how we do it here. This is your Dig Deeper Wednesday Facebook Live. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for the Dig Deeper show. Bye now.